Okay. Time to start. One. Okay, we have a few things to cover about the stable matching algorithm. In particular, we want to argue that it's optimal to some people and pesimal for some people. Along the way, define what is optimal. We define what is optimal and pesimal. If people on Zoom, we don't have, if there will be people on Zoom that would like to join us, I see the chat. And yeah. So we discussed last week stable marriage algorithm. Each person give us a full list of every person in the opposite gender, and we mentioned some process where males were making proposals, females were either accepting them or putting them on a string, dependingly, and then we have a sequence of days, and at the last day we showed that every male is on a string, every female has a male on the string, and at this point everybody got married. Okay, and we also proved last meeting that this matching that we are getting is stable. And among the 5 of us, the 4 of you plus a single person on the Zoom at the moment, remind me what is a stable matching, stable pairing. What does a pairing needs to do to be stable at all? Just to show that you remember the exact definition.
Oh, if it doesn't contain any rogue couples.
There are no rogue couples. There is no couple that is not married to each other, but would rather marry each other instead of marry their current spouses. Right? Each person has a full list of all the people. On the opposite side, you said there is a full ranking. I prefer this over this. And if there is a couple that both prefer this over this, then it means that we don't have a stable market, if you wish. Remember, they got a Nobel Prize, the Galen Chappell got a Nobel Prize for economists after all. Say, possibly what we got as a matching is not global optimality for everybody, but at least there is no small changes that can change. There is no couple that both have interest to dump it. There is no couple not married to each other that both of them has interest to break the current marriage and marry somebody new. The other person in the couple. Why? Because if one of them wins, the other one loses. So that's how we got to stability. Okay, any questions about the algorithm itself? How the algorithm went every day. One of the males were, each male was making a proposal to the highest female, highest on his own list, that did not reject him yet. And the rejection was permanent rejection, never come back again. And the opposite of rejection was maybe come back tomorrow, and maybe we'll see. If I wouldn't have anybody better by tomorrow, at least I put you on the string. I tell you to come back tomorrow. And if that works, come back tomorrow. And that was a traditional marriage algorithm, the algorithm from supposedly 1950s. And you have in homework 1, you'll have homework 1 today. In homework 1, there is plenty of questions about generating inputs for the algorithm, analyzing what you actually need to do to make it run in n squared time. There is a few tricks that it requires you to do so you can make the algorithm run in optimal time, which is n squared. And now I want to tell you something about who is enjoying this type of algorithm the most, because we want to say that emotionally, during this whole matching process, females are getting an offer and from one person. Every female will get an offer from at least one person, and if she gets offer from two people, then her status or her dates are getting better. Like she rejects the one that she ranks lower and said maybe to the one that is better. Hopefully the next day somebody even better will come. Hopefully the next day somebody even better would come. So from female's perspective, it looks like every day is brighter, or at least not worse than the previous day, while from the male perspective, they are on a string on a leash for quite a while, come back tomorrow, come back tomorrow, come back tomorrow, just to be beaten by a new male and then go down his own list, while new female be beaten by more males, and status-wise, things are getting worse and worse for the male. And I want to show you that everything here is, yeah, Jack, go ahead. Now I want to show you that, yeah, maybe there is some emotional price, quote, quote, emotional price about getting rejection, but this algorithm is absolutely chauvinistic. Is as biased toward the male as possible in any stable world. So let's define what is an optimal female for a male mark. So that's Mark's list. Female 3, let's say female 3 will be the top of his list. Female 5 would be the second one. Female 19 would be, if he's rejected by 3 and rejected by 5, then she's still quite, female 19 is quite close to the top. And somewhere here, there is his F30, who is his last choice. So you're saying, as high the top is the most, will be his first choice. And I want to tell you what's the optimal female for Mark. She's not necessarily, the optimal female might be his top choice, but more realistically is not. More realistically, the top female, the optimal female is not his top choice, unless he is so high on everybody's list. Instead, we look at all the, I think that I finally got all the cameras working, so I can use all pieces of the whiteboard. We look at the, how many one-to-one matching, different one-to-one matchings do we have between n males and females? We talked about it.
N
factorial. Look at all n factorial one-to-one matchings. Mark is being married to, in some of them, Mark is being married to this female, this female, this female. I ask you in the homework to generate examples where there is more than one stable pairing. Sometimes there is always one, depending on the preference list. Sometimes there will be more than one. Sometimes there will be exponentially many. In each one of them, Mark is married to one of the females. Let's look at the highest one, for which in some of the matchings, and when I say matching, I will draw this diagram again because it will help to generate. Here is male 1 male 2, male 3, female 1, female 2, female 3, and we think about a few possible one-to-one matchings. This will be one possible one-to-one matchings, all the blue edges. This will be a different one-to-one matchings between the same people, and so on. I can go over all the 6 factorial, 6 by 6, 3 factorial, many matchings of 3 by 3. In some of them, Mark gets a different female. Not always the same female. The one that is the highest that he will get in what? Not in any one of the n factorial's matchings. For each one of the n factorial matchings, we are asking some of them are stable and some are not. Some of all one-to-one matching. And I highlight, when I say the word matching, I mean it's a list of pair of every male and every female whom they are matched to. It's not just for Mark. I'm meditating on Mark right now, is the center of my attention, but when I'm talking about 2 different matchings, the meaning here and in the homework and in the midterm, different is give me the list of all the edges, either the blue or the red or one other such. One-to-one matching. So the highest female that he'll get that Mark will get in any stable matching, she is a opt female for Mark. Other males might have different preference. The other male will say she's not the optimal female for me. And remember, when I defined the optimal female, I didn't care at all at which algorithm you're using. We essentially have 2 conceptual algorithms for finding the matching. We can run the TMA, the traditional marriage algorithm, also known as the Gale-Shapley algorithm, what we just studied. That was a fast and efficient algorithm. That's one option. Very good other different algorithm is generate each one of the n factorial algorithms. See if it's stable or not. If it's stable, list it as a stable matching, and then look at who is the optimal female that Mark is getting. And by the way, even for the TMA itself, of course, we can run it in different ways. We can exchange the rules of males, females. We can do various changes for the algorithm. Okay, everybody understand what is the optimal female for Mark? TMA is the algorithm that we studied. It's a theorem that we are going to prove. We want to say that in the TMA, each one of the males, not only Mark, each one of the males will be married to the married to his optimal females, to the optimal female. Mark will be married to his optimal female. John, that you don't see here, will be married to his optimal female, and so on. Okay, so TMA for men is as heavenly as can be in any stable world. Theorem clear to everybody? What we want to show? That there is no matching when I'm considering out of all the n factorial different matchings, and when I'm considering only the stable matchings out of them, there is no stable matching at which Mark will be married with somebody who is higher than the female he is married to in the TMA. look at what the TMA gives him. This is the highest female he can ever hope for in any stable world. Any world that doesn't have a rogue couple. Okay, so we'll call it a male optimal pairing. It's optimal towards the males. Okay, and we're going to go through the proof of the theorem, and that's maybe a good point to talk about proofs in general of this course. So I'm taking a lot of academic freedom about designing the syllabus of this course. And my record in algorithms is decent enough, and I know what's going in other courses that I take a lot of academic freedom, including putting much less attention about material that I think that you might find less helpful, more boring, less exciting, but also including which of the proofs I actually want you to know and which one I'm teaching. What of the proofs I insist that you know. And maybe always think about which of the proofs I want you to know. Because proofs are always controversial parts. Maybe not the four views that bother coming to the classroom in a very hot day. You definitely don't have any motivation questions, but proofs are a controversial thing because, student arguably can say, hey, you know that people before me checked the proof. We all know that it's true. Why do I have to go through this again? And my answer will be that once I give you the proofs that I give you are the ones that I think that hide some idea over here, and this idea is something that you can play with to change the algorithm for different settings, different algorithms. It forces you to understand something new about the whole structure of what's happening underneath the algorithm, and I'll usually insist on you knowing it only if I think that it's transformable to some other domain. It helps you solve more problems because you understand better what's going inside the algorithm. This proof in particular is, I don't know about transformable, but it's definitely explains things about this algorithm itself, this matching algorithm itself. Okay, but it's a very legit question from your side to say, we are paying a lot of money for this summer course, why do we need to, are you giving us something that's worth our money? Are you giving any tools that justify us wasting time here and not doing something else? And I definitely feel obligated to do my best to give you good answers about why. Okay, so we want a proof about the male optimality, and I just want to break the time a bit into microseconds, milliseconds, so that at the same second there is no case that two males are doing may both making an offer. Let's say there is not even a day the two males make an offer. Let's say every day only one male makes an offer. Exactly one male makes an offer until all males are on a string. You remember from the algorithm, once a male is on a string, then as long as he doesn't get rejected, he is not making an offer to a different female. Keeps making offers to the very same female. So right here I'm just breaking a bit the time, so there will not be two males that are making a proposal at the very same moment. So I'll say that if both two males are proposing to F, I'll say one of them, completely arbitrary, one of them made the result, made the offer a moment later. And you see that the order doesn't matter. If both M1 and M2 makes a proposal to F, and M1, and she prefers M1 over M2, then it doesn't matter if M1 makes the offer, and then when M2 makes a proposal, he will get rejected because she has already M1. Or alternatively, M2 makes the offer, gets for a moment being on a string just to be rejected once M2 makes the offer. So the order doesn't matter very much. So I'll just assume no two males make the makes the offer at the same time. There are some tricks in the algorithm, and nothing happens at the same time. So the theorem tells you every male under the TMA gets his optimal female. We're going to show it by contradiction, by showing that the opposite cannot happen. What is the opposite?
Not optimal.
Sorry?
Not the optimal.
Not the optimal, meaning I'm not saying that every male always get his. I'm saying it's possible that a male will get a female in a stable world. Mark will get somebody who is lower than his opt. I'm definitely not saying that he always get his opt. And I'm saying there are even stable worlds at which he will do worse than his opt. Opt means she's the highest on his rank that he can get in a stable world. What's the opposite?
The female rejects someone who's higher on her.
Getting there. But here I'm not talking necessarily about the TMA. I'm saying out of all the many, many stable matchings,
Are you talking about the Pesimal?
no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm talking about the, I want to say in the TMA, out of all the possible stable matchings, TMA is as nice to the man as possible. Each one will get his optimal. There are other stable matchings at which we might get somebody who is not his optimal, below his optimal. So by contradiction, I want to assume that there is some stable matching at which Mark will get somebody who is higher than his optimal. I want to say, let's assume that there is some matchings at which Mark is getting somebody who is better than the optimal. Okay. So I changed the names a bit because I changed the names a bit because I wanted the first letter to say something about, so I talked about F for female, Florence. And I want to speak about two males, male A and male B. We'll call them Adam and Bob. So here is Florence. And here is the list of Bob and the list of Adam. And assuming that Florence is the opt for Adam. Here is Florence, and she's Adam opt. Florence is the highest Adam can get in any stable matching. And now I'm running the TMA. I'm running the TMA and assume that Adam is being rejected by Florence. What am I trying to convince you? It's possible that males will be rejected by females during the TMA, obviously, but I want to prove that no I want to say that during the TMA, no male is being rejected by his optimal female. Might be rejected by other females above her, but not by his optimal female. So let's assume by contradiction that it does happen. Adam was just rejected by Florence despite her being his optimal female. And now, why did I want this to break the watch into single events? Is that because now I want to say not only that it happens to Adam, but Adam is the first male. During this particular TMA, Adam was the first person that it happens to. Every other male was not rejected by his opt female. Maybe by other ones, but not by his opt. Adam, so far, is the single and only male that it happens to. And why did Florence rejected him? Why did Florence rejected Adam? Florence rejected Adam because she just got an answer, a proposal from Bob. Florence just got a proposal from Bob, male A, male B, and that's why Florence F was rejecting Adam. So in the list of Florence, somewhere in this list, John appears and Cale appears and other guys appears. She ranked everybody, but in particular, Adam and Bob must appear in Florence list. Who is higher in Florence list, Adam or Bob? Bob, obviously, because she did have a proposal from Adam, and once Bob made a proposal, she preferred Bob over Adam. So Bob is higher than Adam. She prefers Bob over Adam. Now, let's look at Bob's list. Let's look at Bob's list. Here is Florence. There is Florence somewhere, and there is his opt female somewhere. Where is his opt female? It's possible that, what do I know about Bob? Bob was not rejected yet by his optimal female. He might be rejected by others, but not by his optimal female. So we have two options. Let's start from this option. Is it possible that here is his opt and Florence is below his opt?
No.
For Bob. Why not? Why isn't his opt higher than Florence?
Because if he had not been rejected by his optimal female, he wouldn't have proposed to
Well, the algorithm says each male goes down his list. Had Bob making a proposal to his opt and being rejected, that's a necessary condition that he'll mark her out and try down his list. And we said that Bob was not rejected yet by his optimal female, so we have two options. This option does not exist, and we are pretty close to the end. This option cannot exist, so either his opt is below Florence, or his opt is Florence herself. Both options are legit. Possibly Florence is Bob's opt. Possibly Bob didn't make an offer yet to his opt. Summing it up, Bob had not yet been rejected by his optimal female, therefore either Florence is either Bob's optimal or Florence is higher than Bob's optimal. That is, in any stable world, Bob is Bob is either married to Florence or Bob is married to somebody who is even below Florence. If his opt is below Florence, and that's the highest the opt is the highest he can get in any stable world, then he'll marry to either, in every stable world, he's either married to Florence or married to somebody below Florence. He'll never do better than Florence. Agree? Bob, in every stable world, will never do better than Florence. Maybe he'll do worse. Okay, we are near that. I wanted to say, how did I define, why did I say that Florence is optimal for Adam? I wanted to say that there is some parallel world, some other matching, not produced by the TMA. There is some matching that is stable, in which Adam and Florence are married to each other, and it's stable. Okay. So there is some other world which is stable. The ranking of the list did not change, but Florence is married to Adam. Wait, sorry. The list at which Adam is married to Florence. In this other world, let's call it S, for some parallel world at which they are married to each other, but it's stable marriage. That is, there is no rogue couple in S. And where will the contradiction will come? I wanted to tell you that this is a stable world, but now I want to show you that actually in this other world there is a rogue couple. And who will be this rogue couple? It will be whom? Florence and let's meditate about Bob. What happened to Bob in S? In S, he's not married to Florence. We are only in one-to-one matchings. Bob is not married to Florence. In no world he cannot get anybody better than Florence, so he is married in S. Bob is married to, let's write her here, let's call her F2, whom he preferred less than Florence. We already said Florence is either he is the best he can hope for, or is even higher than the best he can hope for in a stable world. So in this other world, he's married to female who is not Florence. Florence is taken by Adam. Married to a different F2. Now, about the preference list of F2, I don't know, I don't need to know anything about it. I just want to convince you that S itself cannot be rogue. Why it's not rogue? Because it will show a couple that have an interest to dump their mates and marry each other. Let's take a look about this parallel world at which Bob is married to F2, but Bob is preferring Florence over his wife in S2. So far it's not a proof of rogueness, because maybe Florence is married to somebody that she prefers, but not in this case. Look at the list of Florence. We already figured out that Florence prefers Bob over Adam. That's where we started from. Florence prefers Bob over Adam. if she's married to Adam and talking to Bob, and Bob prefers Florence over his wife in S, they are forming a row couple in S. They have interest, of course, to dump, Florence would dump Adam and marry Bob. She's upgrading, and Bob will dump his wife and marry Florence. He will upgrade. Both of them will get better in S. Conclusion, in S, in this parallel world, there is a rogue couple. Conclusion, it cannot be that Adam was rejected during the TMA by his optimal female, by Florence. There is no, the whole list started by assuming that there was a male Adam that was rejected by his optimal female. So, conclusion, in the TMA, no male is rejected by all the females that are rejecting Adam in the optimal, all the females that rejected Adam during the TMA, traditional marriage algorithm, all the females that rejected Adam are above his optimal female. Florence will not reject him, no matter what. So Adam, that we assume what was special about Adam, he was the first one that was rejected by his optimal female. Adam does not exist. No such male exists during the TMA. Every male is getting, since the TMA produces an optimal marriage, he's not getting somebody better than his opt, because TMA produces an optimal marriage. I hope that all of you remember the proof from last time. While are we sure that this matching does not have a row couple, but Adam is also never rejected by, no male is rejected by his optimal female that is. All the males are getting their optimal female. Okay. Slightly longer than most proofs of this course, but I think that it's still cute, but it needs to go through it more than once to see how everything works together. Okay, so we said that in a sense, TMA increases happiness, if you wish, among the males, but maybe it increases happiness among everybody. Not really. Before we are leaving this proof, any question about the proof, about why was it male optimal? Jake? Okay. To make sure that you understand why it is male optimal, now let's define analogously what is the pesimal male for Florence. Again, looking at all the n factorial many different matchings. Some are produced by the TMA, some are not. Look at each one, spend some time to check if there is a rogue couple. If there is no rogue couple, then it's a stable marriage. Among all these many optimal male, all these matchings, look at the worst male was the lowest in Florence's list that she's ever getting in a stable world. So Florence pesimal male is the lowest ranked male according to her opinion, of course, completely individual. But according to Florence's list, he's the lowest one that she will get in any stable world. Just the opposite of opt, it's the pesimal male. Okay, he's the worst she can conveniently get in any stable world, and the theorem is that the TMA, the algorithm that we saw, will actually produces a female pesimal matching. That is, at the same time that the male are getting the highest preference, female are getting the lowest preference. Make sense? And maybe we'll skip this proof, switching to other things. Though it's there is the same logic as before, but I leave the proof as is. I don't require you to know the proof, but I do require you to know the theorem itself. That the TMA produces the Pesimal male. Okay, now there is lots of conclusions from this optimal Pesimal male. Yeah, like, could it be that two male have the same optimal female?
No.
You think no two male have the same woman as the other optimal female? Why?
What if the female is at the same rank of both?
It could be the same female, it could be the same rank, but I want to. The answer is no. It cannot be that both of them have her as their optimal male. What? But what's the proof that it is unique?
Like how Jake said that because one of them has to be rejected.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see Jake. Yeah, because let's run the TMA. We know the result of the TMA will be the same always. The result of the TMA guarantees that it's a legit one-to-one matching, thanks Jake, you didn't see, and it's one-to-one matching, and every male is married to his female wife. So yes, that is the proof. Just run the TMA. Even though they had their own hair, but they had the same female as their top, or at the same ranking, only one of them will get her in the TMA. Very good, Jake. How can I find for every female her optimal male? How can I find for every female her optimal male?
Have the females propose?
Yeah, just switch the rules, and now we are, of course, everything is symmetric. Okay, and there is a lot of other algorithmic questions that I can ask you over there, right? How do you know if the matching is unique? You said there is n factorial many possible matchings, but only some of them are stable, some are not. Definitely there could be more than one stable. How do you have a quick check to see if the matching is unique or not? Quick, I mean, the TMA algorithm runs after the massage that you give it in homework 1. TMA runs in n squared time, which is optimal running time, by the way. Why? Because the input, what's the size of the input? Every person gives you the whole list of all people in the opposite gender. Every person gives an input of the length n. There are 2n many people. So altogether, n squared is a lower bound. That's a number of bits, number of bytes that you need to read, the number of information items that you need to read. Make sense? So I cannot run in better than n squared, and actually this algorithm runs in order of n squared. So it's tight. It's theta of n squared, no less than n squared, no better, no worse than n squared. So can you think about a way to check if the algorithm is unique, if the matching is unique? Are there more than one stable matching? Hint, the optimal, play with the optimal and pesimal.
Oh, you have the male proposed, and then you have the female proposed. If they're the same, then it's unique.
Why?
Because if that's true, then
look at Florence.
Doesn't make
She
sense.
has
That's
her. She has a pesimal. She has a pesimal. Pesimal meaning there is some stable matching at which she's getting other. She has her opt. You can refine her opt by switching the rules. Now, females are making the proposal. If the matching is unique, then what can happen? What must happen? These two people are the same. That is, the optimal and the pesimal are the same, which means you get it in both matchings, no matter who makes a proposal, and if it happens for every person. Okay, we are done with the TMA. I want to show you a few things. It's easier on the whiteboard. I want to show you a few things about analysis of quicksort. We need it for the homework. So, So I have an input array A from 1 to n, array with n keys, and I want to merge sort of A. I want to sort using merge sort. And hopefully all of you have seen merge sort in some case. If not, that's fine. My explanation will be fully contained, but many of you have seen merge sort before, and I know it, but I think that I'll say something new for, or at least a quick way to analyze Wellington. So merge sort of A, if A contains only one key, then return this key. Else, let's say B equals of the merge sort of A of 1 dot dot n half ceiling. C, also an array, is a merge sort of A from n half ceiling plus 1 dot 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 to n, that is the second part of the array, and we turn the merge, a procedure that I need to describe to you. What is a merge of a B and C? I think that I need this part of the one. I think I'll try to, where do I have? Yeah, you okay, so I take the array A. If there are a lot of elements here, I have the element A. I split it around the n-half ceiling, and I'll look at the left part and sort recursively. Same goes with the right part. Exactly, sort recursively. And finally, I perform the merge. I'll call the left part. I'll call the left part B and the right part C, and finally I perform merge of B and C. So possibly this is B. I put the array, I rotated the array by 90 degrees, so the smallest element is at the top. B, after calling this process, B is sorted. 3 is smaller than 17, smaller than 50, smaller than 60. C is already sorted. And now I'm going to perform merge between these two pieces. So how do I pick these two pieces? I'll keep a pointer, an index in each one of the arrays, and I'll ask if let's call this element I, let's call this element J, and if I is smaller than B, J then white into C, white A, I, and I plus plus, else white B, J, and J plus plus, and this is of course as long as if I is smaller than size of A and B and J is smaller than size of B. I assume that there are elements in both of them, as long as, but once I or J got to the end, then I'm just writing the elements from the other side of the array. I'm just reminding everybody how it works. In general, let's run through the quick example. I'm moving I and J, or I can think about them as crossing them out. So I'm comparing BI and, oh, it's not A, thank you. It's not AI, apologize. So it's it's a B and C, yeah. So that's size of C. If B I smaller than C, J then Y, B I plus plus, otherwise 1 C J and G plus plus. Right. So, quick example, and if one of them is empty, right, the keys in the other part. Oh, sorry, Jake. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, so how does it work? We are comparing 3 to 2. Well, 2 is smaller, so we are writing from C, performing write C, C plus plus. Well, let's write 2 outside. Just to make sure that I'm in there. About that he sees, yes. Okay. I'm writing 2 outside, sketching out, performing J plus plus. Now I'm comparing 4 and 3. 3 is smaller, so moving this pointer. So now I'm comparing 17 to 4. 4 is smaller. Moving 4, moving the pointer. Comparing 17 to 11. 11 is smaller. J plus plus. Comparing 12 to 17. 12 is smaller. I emptied C's. B still have elements. Now I write the remaining elements of C. So now I write the remaining 2 elements of C, which are 50 and 60. So this will be what I return as the MesgeSort. Okay, so now, yeah.
Are we writing in a new section of the memory?
So, yes, so you actually, why? So let's talk about MesgeSort as a practical algorithm. It will, as we'll see in a few minutes, it runs in n log n, which is optimal, set of keys. We talked about it. You cannot serve a set of keys in time better than omega n log n. And this will run in n log n, so this is optimal. That's one good thing to say about this algorithm. You'll see, I'll write it up. You'll see. What other good things can I say about it? It's an excellent example of divide and conquer. I take the input, I split it into 2 pieces, equal size pieces. I solve each of them recursively, and then I conquer, I merge them. That's another good thing that I can say. And that's to an extent that summarizes good things that I can say about MesgeSort. Practically, it's not very fast. Why? Because a few things. There are a lot of ifs and subcases, and there is a lot of memory allocation that I need to do all over the place. That is, now when I'm actually returning this array, you don't see, when I'm actually returning this array, I need to, this write that I so elegantly just wrote because pseudocode is so easy, writing on the whiteboard is so easy, I just will write to an array or to the output or something, but it's actually writing to a new array that I need to allocate. And it's not an sorting that is done in place. Sorting in place meaning that I just have one array that I'm using and everything happens inside this array. Swap sort can be done in the same array. Quick sort can be done in the same array. Merge sort cannot. There is a lot of memory allocations, and the things are not always in the same size. Right? So it's quite a headache, and asking the operating system, give me some new free space to use, telling the operating system this is garbage, you'll handle it, or hoping that Java, the miracle of Java will save you from garbage cleaning. There are a lot of other algorithms that works very similar to this approach and working fantastically. For the case of MesgeSort, it's just there are better options like quicksort or like even heap sort. Both are superior. But it's a very good example, and we'll see, and there is a lot to study from it about analyzing and understanding and coming up with other algorithms or other algorithms for different problems. Some of them you'll see in the homework, obviously. So my first question for you is, how much time the merge of B and C takes? Assuming that there are n keys altogether in A, then how much time does it take? There is a point to this question. It's slightly less trivial than what it looks. The merge operation, you cannot see the two of the left, but I have this camera that shows the left part. I see. Okay, now you see my, wait, who's left? I can see the two left sections. Wait, this is my left section. You're right. Yeah. Fair enough. But now there is a piece here that you're missing. Okay, hopefully the three of them. I'll stop using this part, just finish this section. How much time does the whole process take? Okay. How much time the merge sort takes? How much time the merge takes only? Here I'm asking how much time the merge takes if I start with n keys.
Isn't it in line?
Not the whole merge sort. I'm only looking at the part of the merge of two arrays, B and C.
Is it O-N?
I want to say it's order n. Order n is the correct answer. Why? What's the proof?
Because we're accessing them like one by one.
It's very, so we are looking at these two arrays, and we are looking at 3 over here, and we want to say every element is accessed only once, but it's not entirely true. If I will have a 120, 100. If I have an element here, I don't want to think about what example. One element here can be compared to each element of the other side. Now, let's make this element a 100, 117, 115, 160. Then what's happening? 100 is compared to 2, 4, 14, and 12. And only I can move with the 100. So it's not exactly accurate that every element is accessed only once. So we want to be a bit more settled. It's a proof of the type of how could it be anything else, which is kind of makes sense. It's almost obvious that it must be in linear time, but the fact that it's obvious doesn't mean that you don't have to prove it. So what's the proof that it's linear time?
Because just the size of the array or the keys.
There are n keys, and half of them in B and half in C, but maybe I check every pair against every pair, and then it will be n squared. It's not what I'm doing, but just the fact that the input is of size n. I agree that it takes order n. That's also what Jake said, but you need to actually tell me why it's order n.
The right thing happens n times.
So what happens to this array every loop of the algorithm? No matter what, every loop of the algorithm, what happened to make pointers? The I and j. Either the left one moves or the right one moves. At least one of them must move at each iteration, and only move down. So every pointer will move only one time downward. That is, every cell, once I wrote it, it's out of the game. This I is out of the game. That is, I don't know if it happens on the left or the right, but at every iteration of the algorithm, every constant time, one of these two elements will be written. So each iteration either one of the pointers I or j must move downward. Very wavy, but that's we're just scanning. There is we are not arguing that an element will be looked only once, but we are arguing that after that each iteration we can we can erase from the input one of the elements. We can delete from the input one of the elements, and there is only n elements to be deleted. So, small point, but worth attention that even here the answer is not entirely obvious. Okay, now let's analyze the running time of the algorithm. First, in a very boring way, very non-intuitive way, and then in something that I think that actually teaches us about other algorithms. So let's write recursion formula. Following standard textbook, T of n equals 1 if n equals 1. T of n takes constant time if the array is the input. T of n is the running time of the whole, I should have said, running time of the whole algorithm. Running time of quicksort of the whole thing. Obviously, if you have only one key, then we are in this case. A contains only one element, then we are just returning and it takes a constant time. Otherwise, it takes what? It takes T of n half ceiling, I need more room. T of n half ceiling plus T of n half floor plus C times n. How did I get to these numbers? Because I did the merge sort on the left part, the merge sort on the right part, and one of them might be slightly smaller than the other. And that's the time of the merge sort. The merge sort, the merge itself, so it came from here. Constant time. Okay. So treating it as a, writing it again, T of n equals 1 if n equals 1, or constant if n equals 1. Otherwise, let's ignore this constant C. Let's just assume that C is 1. You can always do it. The constant, the units that I measure the time will be 1. And now I want to write T of n half, but I gave you a rule without a proof about every time that you see ceiling or floor, ignore it in the running time. There will be one case in the course that I can think about right now that you cannot do it, and that's because the ceiling or the floor will be in the exponent. Everywhere else, you can ignore ceiling or floor in the analysis. So just write T of n half plus T of n half plus n, which is just 2 times T of n half plus n. Okay, that's one of the recursion formulas that pops up really frequently in many algorithms. And I want to show you two ways to understand what's going on. You can also just push it into the master theorems, and it will immediately give you the answer that T of n is just order, as you all know, n log n. That will be the answer of the master theorem, but let's try to understand more, because once we understand, we can use it in other scenarios. One method will be, let's imagine a recursion tree. My recursion tree will start with n keys. And what do I do with these n keys? And just this tree that I'm going to draw for you, it's not a search tree. It's not even all context. It's just a visualization of what the algorithm is doing. Just a visualization of what the algorithm is doing. So I start with n keys, and how much will I spend on these n keys at the end? I will have to spend C times n, 1 times n, plus I'll look at the left subtree and we'll spend for it n half, c times n half. Let's ignore the c. C will be just 1. N plus n half, that will be the merge of the left part, and n half, that will be the merge of the right part, but I'm not done at it. Here I have n over 4. How do I sort the left subtree? How do I sort the left sub-array, sorry? I'll break it into 2 quarters of array, each one with n over 4 many keys. N over 4, n over 4, n over 4, and n over 4. That will be the time that I'll spend at each part, but still I have the recursions, yada, yada, yada. And these recursions will stop when this n over 2 to the I, this tiny little element, is only of size 1. So n over 8, n over 8, n over 8, and so on. And I want to ask what is the total running times that happen in all these pieces of the algorithm. And let's sum it up. Each element of the array was called once when it was just a single element that was the part of the if n contains only one element. So here, altogether, the time that I'm spending is n. Analysis that you hopefully have seen before. But let's remind you, that's not the new analysis that I want to show, but let's follow the book over here. So at the lowest level, I'm spending n time. What happened in the highest level? I only have one array, but so I'm just doing the sort. Also spend only n time. What happened one level below? I have n half, constant times n half, plus the same constant times n half, the left part and the right part, all together. This n half plus n half sums up to 8, right? N over 4 plus n over 4 plus n over 4 plus n over 4 times, sum them up also to 8. Everything is multiplied by c, but by the same c. Now, I started with an array of size n. I split it into 2 arrays, each of size n half. N over 4, n over 8, yada yada, until I become 1. What is the height? How many times can I split an array into half? Log to the base 2 of n, log n, log to the base 2 of n is the height of this creature. Might need to introduce ceiling of this number, and that's it. But that gives you the so the overall running time that I spend in every piece. Each node here refers to one of the cases that I called this function, the merge of this part without the recursion. Sum them all up, you got n of it. And that you probably have seen in some one textbook or another. I want to give you a different method. But everybody understands this part, have seen it before, such a tree. So at least this function by itself already gives you much more than just the master theorem, because at least you understood where the n log n came from, just summing up the running time of each individual. But I want to do something else. I want to ask look at a key x at A. I'm picking one of the keys x in A, and I want to ask how many times did I copy X from one array to another. So because if you look at the code, both of the merging, both of the allocation, every time that you spend a constant time, one of the keys move from one array to the other. And I want to count how many times did I move such an array from one place to the other. So let's start from let's ignore what happens all the times until I get very tiny arrays. And then I merge X, one of these copies that I picked from, I merged X. X was an element from itself, so I spent a constant time. So let's say first time, or one when A, the size of A is 1. What happens the next time that I move, when the size of A is 2 lines? On the end, at the very end of the recursion. I'm just a bit short on time, so I'm writing a bit briefly. What happens the next time that I'm merging X with somebody, copy X with somebody? Next time, X is with another key in a sorted array of size. I merged X with some other key, so the next time X together with some other array is in an array of size 2. That is, the MesgeSort created a run of 2 elements, say 3, 5, a run of 2 keys that are sorted, another run of 2 keys which are sorted. 5, 19, 5 appears 1, 17, 32. Let's continue here. So every time that I copy X from one array to another, I paid X $1. And I want to ask how many dollars do I need for all the copies from one array to another. The next time that I'm merging X with somebody else, next, X is in a sorted set of what? I took a pair of 2 keys that is sorted. I took a pair of 2 keys that is sorted, and I merged them. That's why an X was one of the operations that I did. That is, so after merging 2 runs of 2, X is of size is in a set or a run like a sub-sequence of elements of size 2 to the 2. There are 4 elements now that are sorted. These 4 will be sorted. This 93 and 105, these 2 and these 2 will be merged into 4 tuples that is sorted. Next time that I moved X from one array to another, X is in a sorted set of 2 to the cube, sorted of 8 runs of 8s. Now my output is ones of 8 elements that are sorted. Dot, 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 dot. X is in a set of 2 to the I after I many steps. I merge pairs into 4 tuples. I merge 2 4 tuples into 8 tuples, 8 into 6. 2 8s into 16, and so on. X is now in a size 2 to the I after I steps. Okay, so how many, what at the end, how large I can be until I stop the algorithm, because I sorted everything, X is in a 1 that contains all of the elements, then the maximum I is log 2 of n. Once you get into a full array, I can't understand, believe it you want to understand. I small equals then log of n. So each element was moved only log n many times. If you look at X itself, every time that it's moved from one place to another, it will find itself with this one set of groups in a set of, to the beginning, a set of 1 element, then I'm in a set of 2 elements sorted. Then I'm in a set of 4 elements all sorted. Then I'm in a set of 8 elements all sorted. And every time that I moved, I had to pay $1 for me, or I got $1. So that was for X itself. X was moved. So to summarize it, X moved from one array to another only log n many times. There are n keys like X in A. X in, everybody familiar with this notation? X in A. So total time would be, once again, as we all know, n, that's the number of possible X in A, times log n. Why do I like this method of analysis more? Because here I'm trying to pick an element that each property invariant that each element needs to satisfy. Everything that somebody invests time of me, one of the keys in A, then my status in life has changed. They spend a constant time on me, then I'm now in a larger group. Spend a constant time on me, I'm in twice larger group. So I would be shifted from one place to another only log n many times. These ones are getting larger and larger. Makes sense? We're getting to the same conclusion, but it's a very different way to analyze it. And I think that it's much more flexible in the sense of using it in other algorithms, including ones that you be asked about in the homework, but we'll see it a few times. That it's, the responsibility is not for the whole algorithm. The counting now is based on each element in the input is charged some money and how much. What is a budget per a key? And the budget per key is log n. Give an element, give X in A log n many dollars, and every time that X is moved from place to another, it is charged $1, and X is never in an overdraft. It has enough many dollars to pay for it. Why log n? Because how do I know that only log n? Because every time that it's shifted, it's in a bigger group. Cool, you're ready to answer all questions in the homework, I think, so I'll publish it today. Today we'll start skip list, which I think most of you covered. I'll try to give you a few ideas. Nevertheless, it's such a cool data structure that even if you know it, sure, we'll go faster or slower around it depending on how familiar with it you are. But and I'll tell you a few new things, I'm sure, about skip lists. But it's really, really one of the fantastic data structures that, let's put it this way. If you're not familiar with skip lists, but instead you're familiar with how exactly do I handle, say, red-black trees or AVL trees, Or let's think about AVL trees. AVL trees are balanced trees. You know, you can insert, delete, find an element in log n time. And if you're inserting a new element, then you have a case of if the new element is a left subtree of a left subtree, or a right subtree of a right subtree, or a right left or a left right. And each one needs to be checked and needs to be handled differently. And that's for the easy case of insertion. Deletion, it's a total nightmare because you need to replace this element with somebody else, and then if it's not a leaf and if it is a leaf, then you need to start rotations at all. Total nightmare. And that's for AVL, that is one of the simplest search trees. Skip list will solve all these problems, just much, much, much easier, but will be randomized. We'll have to toss coins and understand better the math. Thanks.
Do office hours start today as well, or?
Sure, now is good time.
I was just wondering.
Whenever.
Okay.
When it's due.
Sorry?
When it's due. What does it do?
It will be a week, like 8 days for today. And I'm not extremely tight, unless people want me to publish the solutions urgently, or that we are just getting so close to the midterm and I have to, it's fine. Usually I'm very relaxed about it. If you have conflict. Oh, but that's important. We set the midterm to some date, I think the 13th, but please check in the course website. I set the midterm for some date right now, but I assumed that it's convenient for everybody. We can shift it a bit if you guys have conflicts in this particular day. I think that it's July 13th, please double check. And please see that it works for everybody. We can easily shift it a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.